realized the opposite was true. The skills I had been building through cosplay, Twitch, and content creation were the same skills I needed to move forward in my career endeavors. So, something you're going to notice as you go through this newsletter is that there seems to be, even now, still some underlying guilt with like being creative and still being in like a very stringent field, like the doctoral field that I'm in, pharmacy. And it's still something that I'm still trying to unlearn and like understand that I have a very, hi Prince, what's up? I have a very well-rounded asset and I need to put that in the forefront more often. For anyone that's coming in late, I just want to let you know that we are just getting started with the very first newsletter, which is basically the backstory of all this. And then we're going to go into the other two additions, which is networking, the other one's like project management and like collaboration. But yeah, we're just getting started. This is basically my villain backstory. I'm kidding. So so the nerdy beginning. My love for games began at 3 years old when my dad handed me a PlayStation controller and taught me Tekken 3. He's the one that introduced me to video games. There's this whole thing where like he taught me how to use a controller and then my cousins fueled like my love for JRPGs. It's just so funny to me. Anywho, that spark grew into cosplay, streaming, and nerd culture communities that gave me both joy as well as a creative outlet. In 2018, I started cosplaying for fun when finishing my degree in biology, specifically my Bachelor of Arts, because I was trying to speed up, like, it's this whole thing. I'm not going to go in detail with it, but basically I finished my undergrad in 3 years because my dad told me to. Anyway, so that's the whole thing. Content creation became my side gig around the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. I connected with other creators online like Prince and spoke out about how marginalized creators were treated. My audience was curated from individuals that resonated with my post, and I found my voices in spaces that mattered. So this first image, what she said. So this was around like, it says here a 2022 post about weight bias and like fat shaming in cosplay. And this was around the time that I was getting fat shamed as Asuka from Tekken, her specifically her Tekken 5 outfit. And so because of my recent weight loss, which was done in a very unhealthy way, I kind of wanted to share my experiences with people and also uplift others to not follow those same steps. I actually, come to think of it, someone on TikTok not too long ago messaged me this. And I feel so bad because I kind of left them on red and I meant to message them back. But let me see if I can find it. But yeah, they messaged me and I still have to come up with a response for them. But there's so much people in the cosplay community that have, especially plus size people, that have insecurities about cosplaying certain characters or even starting to cosplay because of their appearances and such. So that's kind of like where I'm not sure if the original post is still there. I am assuming it is. This is a fairly old post, but it got a lot of attention because the one thing I feel like that my content has got it in the past is that I literally just post whatever resonates with me and it kind of resonates with others, and I honestly get a lot of serotonin from that, just starting conversations with people about really important issues. But anywho, okay, so that advocacy translated into my work as a training pharmacist in Baltimore, where I cared for underserved patients. I was also vocal about preventative measures during COVID-19 by encouraging my audience to vaccinate and mask for the safety of their health. This was especially prevalent as nerd culture conventions and Comic Cons reopened in 2022. It was another way my clinical knowledge and creative presence overlapped, which allowed me to build trust in both communities. I began my Twitch journey. Oh god, I hope I don't cry reading this. Okay. I began my Twitch journey in late 2023 at the height of my 4-year pharmacy rotations, which is I think this is around the time that I actually got to know a lot of Prince's entourage. And so around this time, so this is my last year of pharmacy school, essentially. And all they basically do is send us to like different healthcare entities for like a month. We have 6 or 7, I can't remember exactly, but I was put into a retail pharmacy. I was put into like a couple hospitals. I was with a pharma company. I was with an insurance company. It was so crazy. Like that entire time was honestly like a blur to me. Hey Ponder, hey Light, what's up? If you guys want to follow along with the live reading, it's in the pin. We're just a little bit under the first image that shows up. But yeah, so at the same time, my grandmother who took care of me was also in at-home hospice. It was a turbulent time, but streaming offered an outlet and a sense of control. The ability to go live gave me space to escape, yet it also sharpened skills I needed as a student pharmacist. The practice of speaking to an audience made presentations about clinical trials and disease states during my rotations feel less intimidating. Over time, streaming not only strengthened my public speaking online, but also I don't know why I don't know why I added online onto there, but whatever. But also remind me that joy and hard work could exist side by side. So, long story short, something I've noticed personally is I feel like being on podcasts in the past, being interviewed and such, and then essentially going into streaming during a time where like I was basically doing presentations in front of like medical professionals every 2 weeks for these different rotations kind of helped me get used to presenting in front of people. And I think the hardest one that I did like rotation wise was with, I can say their name now, I don't care, AstraZeneca. So for that company, I actually I presented in front of 40 people, and specifically with this pharma company, I had like a rehearsal with them, and this was like a full 2 months before I actually started streaming. So we did a rehearsal for the presentation, and she said, girl, you talk too fast. You gotta slow down. And like ever since then, I can still hear my preceptor's voice in my head telling me to slow down as I talk. And so why like it might sound like, oh god, yeah, it's very nerve-wracking. And now that I kind of understand better that like I feel like I'm in the neurodivergent community, it kind of makes I yap too fast too, so I feel on that. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but like I was penalized for that, like talking too fast, whether it's out of excitement or anxiety and stuff. That was looked down upon when I was there. But they still liked my presentations regardless. And like, because I had another classmate who also did presentations, and who was also in the same rotation as me. And so while she quote unquote, I guess, had the normal talking speed, I was a lot more personable. She sounded more robotic, etc. No hate to her, but things like that kind of helped me with like presenting and such. So that same presence online opened doors I never expected. I collaborated with brands such as Peachy Jewelry, right here, Kuteki, and Yes Style. My cosplays even caught the attention of Nickelodeon and game directors like Yoko Taro, who did the Nier and Drakengard games. What began as a way to cope during a difficult chapter became the foundation for skills that continue to shape my professional life today. All right. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay, ADHD talking too fast for you. How that's my normal talking speed. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the path of pharmacy. So pharmacy was always part of my plan. Growing up in a Filipino household, my family encouraged healthcare careers, and stability was often the measure of success. I earned my bachelor's in biological sciences in 2018, then worked at CVS as a pharmacy technician to make sure I was on the right path. For those that don't know my lore before 2020, it's a fun story. I can say this now and laugh about it because I have my doctorate now, so it doesn't matter. I'm considered a pharmacist. But when I graduated from my initial undergrad in 2018, I actually got into a different school that was, it's still in the same state, but there was a different one from the one I graduated from in 2018. I underestimated the workload. I think I was burnt out. And I just couldn't match up to like the academic standards, I guess, of their curriculum, and I got dismissed from the program in 2019. So that was a very challenging time for me. This is before a lot of people knew who I was on social media, so it's kind of like it was a very difficult time. I do remember drinking a lot, which is not good. And so I took that was actually ironically the time that I started playing Final Fantasy 14. So like during that 1 year break between 2019 and 2020, I was playing Final Fantasy 14. And so and at the same time I was working at CVS as a farm tech to be like, okay, do I still want to go into pharmacy? And despite the hell that CVS gave me, I honestly learned so much from my experience there, and that I love, talking to patients, even though like I feel like there's a difference between wanting to serve patients and wanting to talk to patients. And I'm the type of person that's like, I want to help people, but just in my own way. But yeah, so I initially was dismissed, or AKA, I guess the better way to say is kicked out of pharmacy school the first time. And then I reapplied to a different program in my state. And then they took me. I managed to get through 2020 to 2024 and I graduated. So anyway, getting back to this. Retail was not my long-term goal, but I valued the chance to serve patients directly. I entered pharmacy school in 2020 during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. My first year was entirely virtual, which gave me time to focus on both my studies and my growing side gig as a content creator. At the time, a lot of my stuff was solely on cosplay, but I think it was because since everyone was quarantined in their spaces and stuff, I can't seem to remember if... Oh no, I was still being paid by CVS, so that's why. But yeah, part of my program was serving the underserved patient communities in Baltimore. I helped plant community gardens, visited elderly patients in long-term care facilities, and worked with organizations supporting people recovering from drug addiction. These experiences taught me how to translate complex medical information into simple practice advice. Those lessons would return later in ways I did not expect. So this next picture is from so I had seven rotations. So block 1 was with an insurance company. Block 2 was when I was in a hospital, and that was by far the most nerve-wracking one. Like that was the sort of thing where like I was like reading a patient's chart, and then like as I would go up to my preceptor, I would be eating grapes on my way walking up. That was a crazy time. All for the sake of me graduating. And then block 3 was with AstraZeneca. As I said before, block 4 was ambulatory care or liquid clinic. So I was teaching at my school of pharmacy and also like helping with clinical stuff in terms of like, so think of a doctor's office. So they have triage for like pharmacists and stuff and just doing follow-up with patients. Block 5 is, I honestly can't remember, but I just remember the other like pharmacy students I was with. This one ended around late December, and I actually met someone really special around this time who is still a good friend to me today. Block 6, when was this? Okay, no, this is the transitions of care one. So this was also at a hospital, and basically it sort of taught me how to counsel patients before they get discharged, and that way we can reduce the amount of readmissions that are going on and be able to keep them healthy at home and be able to extend that sort of grace to them that we're available and such. There's a lot of nuances with that because it's Baltimore, but anywho. And then block 7 is where my very last rotation, which was with it was with like a grocery store retail pharmacy. So yeah. Between block 6 and block 7, as you guys know already, my grandma was in hospice care during, I want to say, like around November. And so we found out she went to the hospital late October, and then late November was when, and you know, Filipino families are like tight knit and big. So and you know what's effed up? Okay, so like when I was in pharmacy school, I used to do internship work at this pediatric hospital pharmacy for a big one of the big hospitals here in like Baltimore and such. And so she was hospitalized at that hospital, and it's like, and to this day my mom's like, oh, you could have like applied there because you're technically already in their system. But after seeing my grandma like that in that same hospital, I was like, no, I can't. I just can't. And I worked at that hospital for like a good couple of months after she died, before I essentially resigned because I just could not work there anymore. Yeah, it was a very dark time. I feel like it wasn't until March of this year that like I actually fully recovered from that. But yeah, sorry guys, I got like really emotional, but anywho. Oh, see, it goes straight into it in the newsletter. Yeah, no work at the very hospital. Grandma died. Great idea, mother. By my final year of rotations from 2023 to 2024, I thought I knew where I was headed. I held leadership roles in pharmacy organizations, mentored classmates, and explored different, that was a typo. Okay. Different practice areas such as managed care, retail, hospital, as well as ambulatory care. I set my sights on breaking into the pharmaceutical industry through a fellowship or direct entry role. My capability to pass my licensure exam, the NAPLEX, which is more on the clinical stuff, and the MPJE, which is all pharmacy law, felt like the final keys to success. And then life changed quickly. My grandmother, who helped raise me, passed away just months before my graduation. I pushed through rotations and grief, but after graduation, I struggled. I failed both exams and had no fellowship or job waiting. For the first time, the pathway I had mapped out so carefully was gone, and I was left wondering where to go next. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the interesting part. Okay, so the turning point. So in that uncertain period, I remember something that has always been there, whether it was analyzing a video game plot, drafting educational content about a disease, or creating calls to action for a charity stream. Writing had always been a part of who I was as a person. And so in March 2025, I discovered medical writing and medical communications as a career path. My pharmacy expertise and creative skills were never meant to be separate. My years in cosplay and content creation had given me strengths in networking, project management, public speaking, audience-centered communication, and more. In combination with my clinical knowledge, these experiences become a powerful foundation. And within months, I landed freelance opportunities with a health nonprofit, a CME provider, which is continuing medical education. So basically, it's training post-graduation for medical professionals, and my state pharmacist association. At this moment in time, so at the time that I'm reading this, I'm actually only working for the CME provider and my state pharmacist association for a multitude of reasons. The short answer is that they relied heavily on AI at the nonprofit, and I could not do it anymore. I also began mentoring other PharmDs who were curious about non-traditional career paths. This included a recent graduate who secured her first medical writing related role through one of my connections. For the first time, I no longer felt forced to choose between being a pharmacist or a creator. I could be both. All right, so and then this kind of goes into, so we're gonna go into the different parts of transferable tales. So the next one is actually on networking. So I'm going to, so that's the second one if you guys want to follow along. Let me do a little quick sip break. How's everyone doing today? I'm managing, boy. Let me tell you. You don't gotta tell me twice. It's my Saturday. Gotcha. Ooh, that's good. Honestly, that's good. And this is why I'm giving the whole week off for myself, because I need a break, and this is my gift to myself, is a slightly better. Good, sis, how are you? I am giving myself a break for this week, and that's my birthday gift to myself. So I will be spending all of this week, except for Saturday this week, because I'm almost certain I'll be going out with family with you guys. So I'm doing okay. I'm about to go grab a snack. Nice. Okay. So we're going to go into the networking portion. So the way that I wanted transferable tales to work is essentially, oh, also let me pin that. Let me pin that. About to eat the sandwich. Nice. I would have told you myself, but I'm glad you were taking a week away from a lot. Yeah, it's honestly, it's funny because I was on a video call with Uzi earlier. She's usually my job searching buddy, and she did a tarot card reading on me, and she's like, girl, they're saying that you need to rest. Just close that laptop, just lay down, open a Halloween movie. And I was like, okay, actually you're right about that. So that's exactly what I'm doing. The only thing I'm really doing is things that are like giving me attention, like an email from like a gig or something that comes up. I recently had like a communications related gig. It's not medical related, but they pay me, and it's for like it's for my neighborhood's HOA, and it's just communications and making flyers for them for like a really good price. And I'm just like, say less. Anywho, I'll be working on that. I probably tomorrow or like later tonight. I don't know. We'll see. Anywho. So this next one is on networking. So I'm going to go through the different skills. And so far, the only additions that are out is networking and project management and collaboration. This one's slightly shorter, so I will try to talk more if anyone has any questions about networking. Personally, for me, like looking back at this, I don't like the word networking. It just, like, for a career-wise type of thing, I get it. But for like connecting with content creators and stuff, I don't know. I think connecting is a better term instead of networking in general. Okay, so whenever I networked, yeah, that word is very overused. It's like very old language, if you ask me. Which is why there's a potential that I might be doing a part 2 to this, because I want this. The whole point of me doing this newsletter is that I kind of want to document my writing style over time, and it would be really cool to see how it progresses over time. I've always been a writer. I just never documented it. But yeah. Okay, so whenever I networked, I felt like I was hiding half of myself. And this isn't even like about the creator side. It's like the pharmacist in me and what was expected of me on how I should be portraying myself in front of patients, in front of doctors, in front of like professionals and stuff. And it's something that I'm still trying to unlearn. Obviously, I click with people that are naturally creative, neurodivergent, or they don't have, for lack of a better word, a stick up their ass. But I find sometimes, especially when I'm networking with like industry professionals, for example, it can still come off as like very stiff. And that's neither side's fault, because I feel like the system kind of sets it up as a way of just professional talking, if you will. So I have heard similar words from peers, and I have said them to myself more times than I can count. Networking always felt like an act where I was squeezing myself into a version of professional that left no room for the creator, the nerd, or the real me. So networking the career buzzword. So this is the bread and butter of career growth, I feel like. So for many people, it can be the difference between getting a referral and staying invisible. By 2025, applying for jobs without a network is often not enough, which it can vary for certain industries and stuff. But like for my industry, like being in the medical field and such, especially if I want to get into a non-traditional position, you gotta know somebody that's in there. Because the really sucky thing, and this is like my biggest pet peeve, is that there's no feedback. Sometimes they kind of sift through like your application, and they just kind of like, if it doesn't hit the ATS basically, so like the buzzwords that they're looking for on resumes and like on the cover letter and stuff, they will just completely chuck it out, which I don't agree with that. It's getting harder to get a hold of these recruiters, but that's a vent for another day. My recent roles with the Maryland Pharmacists Association, PCOS Challenge, and PharmCon Free CE were all the direct result of networking. But over time, my understanding of networking began to shift. I stopped seeing it as a transactional task to get opportunities and started reimagining it as something else entirely. The struggle is real. And here's another thing too. I think I could have worded this heading a lot better. I also have a habit of procrastinating as well. So like the body of things, I'm fine. When it comes to headings, I'm just kind of like, what the heck am I supposed to put here? But anywho, I often hear the same complaints. I hate networking. It feels transactional. It feels forced. For introverts, networking is exhausting. When being neurodivergent is added on top of that, it can feel like a full-blown nightmare. Instead of looking forward to meeting someone new, you find yourself doing the following. So these are all things I've done before, except the last one. Because at this point, trying to recognize an entire script, it's just very obvious when you're like rehearsing something. Like I'd rather be saying like 10 times instead of like robotically reading off a script. Worrying about saying the wrong thing or rehearsing an entire script. These networking calls end up feeling stiff, awkward, and draining. And I can say as someone that was like accepting these one-on-one calls with people that... So when I finished my career coaching program, I had some pharmacists reach out to me and be like, hey, Alyssa, how did you get into medical writing? And it pains me so, because unfortunately, off the top of my head, I could only name 5 people off my hand, like my fingers, that I genuinely had a authentic connection with. And then for everyone else, it kind of felt like an informational interview, and I kind of get it. But, and yeah, I don't know. It just feels transactional, and I kind of feel there needs to be a better way to go about this. Even I'm still trying to learn, because like I know when I see my people and I know when I'm able to hit it off with them. It's just a different story when it's someone who's more conventionally minded, if you will, not as creatively inclined, kind of is stiff in general and stuff. And that's something as a creative person that I'm still trying to figure out. And it's like, yeah, I had that training in pharmacy school to talk like that, but as you can tell, I'm trying to unlearn it, try to be more authentic self. And it's hard. It's really hard. As a mentor to students and new perspective As a mentor to students and new graduates, I see this play out among my Gen Z colleagues all the time, but now even seasoned pharmacists ask me how I approach networking. The struggle is universal, and it shows that something about the system needs to change. So, a shift in perspective, my turning point came when I stopped treating networking as a transaction and started treating it as a conversation. Instead of seeing calls as opportunities to land a gig, I see them as chances to learn about another person's passion in a shared space. Or I try to. Big, albeit. I see them as chances to learn about another person's passion in a shared space. This not only gives me insight into career paths, but also sparks authentic discussions that would matter to both sides. If I could tell my past self one thing, it would be this. Do not hold back the other sides of yourself for the sake of appearing conventional. And this is why we're here with my current newsletter, and that I don't care at this point in time, because honestly, this newsletter has given me more fulfillment as a writer, as someone that kind of wants to do writing as like a full-time thing, but still want to apply that to different healthcare entities. They just need to give me a chance. Anyway, the ability to be conventional has its place, but authenticity is where real connections last. So the hidden network. Okay. So the irony is that I have already been networking long before I use that term in my day-to-day career development. Back in 2020, my first year as a pharmacy student coincided with the peak of COVID. All of my classes were online, and I turned to cosplay for that creative kick. What started as content creation quickly grew into a community. I advocated for marginalized creators in cosplay by speaking up against racism and fat shaming, amongst other things such as people with disabilities. These conversations combined with my pharmacy training around health inequities taught me how deeply empathy shapes both communities and careers. I don't know why I paused with that. Okay, so that willingness to engage opened unexpected doors. I co-led a panel at... Why is unexpected? Okay, whatever. I co-led a panel at a nerd culture convention with over 40,000 attendees on equity and cosplay. I became a recurring guest on my peers' podcast, Deeper Than Cosplay, where we tackled issues affecting real people in the community. What I thought was just being active online was actually me practicing the very heart of networking. Building trust through being your authentic self. And well, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check the OG's channel for any VODs of Deeper Than Cosplay that might be up. From conventions to career. So this same practice carried into my career journey. On Twitch or at conventions, people often ask me, what do you do now? At first, that question filled me with anxiety because I was uncertain about... They are still up, by the way. That question filled me with anxiety because I was uncertain about my direction and worried about how my answer would be received. Over time, I became more comfortable sharing what I was working toward. And since May of 2025, I have been able to clearly explain why I chose to pivot to medical writing and medical communications in a way that anyone inside or outside of healthcare can understand, applying the skills relevant to those areas. Because I feel like something that I feel like the medical field tends to miss out on is actually putting themselves in the shoes of non-healthcare people, just patients in general. And I feel like I am very lucky to be part of a community where like I meet all sorts of people from different backgrounds, different health literacies and stuff. And it kind of makes me feel good when, one of my mutuals reach out and I'm able to help them and be able to, especially if like their doctor or like their pharmacist is like incompetent because the working conditions does not allow them to have that US healthcare problems. Anyway, but yeah, so the more I practiced telling my stories, the more confident I became in professional networking conversations. With every word of support from my content creator community, I felt braver about showing up authentically in my pharmacy and medical writing circles. Networking no longer felt like an act, it became empowering. Having an understanding on all sides and not stuck on one specific things. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Anywho, this is a small collage of selfies from all from Katsucon and Otakon actually. So this is like, yeah, I am quite a little busy bee. There's still some mutuals I still need to meet IRL and take selfies with. But this is what I'm trying to say. Like, I think cosplaying and going to conventions and just interacting with people, and I'll talk a bit more on my next edition. So that's the last edition of the set that we're going to go over. About talking to people you don't really vibe with or like cutting ties with people, like that's something entirely that I will hit upon. But it's just fascinating for me that like I can actually have a network from meeting someone from a shared fandom, if you will. Okay, so the new rule I live by. Okay, so we're done with this one. Today, I approach networking with one guiding rules. Show up as someone who brings curiosity and ideas, not just request. Research is helpful, but you do not need to study every detail of a person's career before speaking with them. Shared interests and genuine questions matter more than memorizing a biography. The goal is to not deliver a perfect pitch. It is to create a real conversation with an impactful connection. Networking is no longer about hiding half of myself. It is about bringing all of me to the table. So now for me personally, like I try to find something that's like of common ground, even if me and the other person might be as different as night and day, but I'll still try to find something that would be an interesting speaking point during our conversation. Because like, let's be real here, no one likes small talk. But and here's something people have to understand too at networking. It kind of goes for like talking to people in the cosplay community, streaming community, anywhere really. You're not going to be friends with anybody. You're not going to be friends with everybody is what I'm trying to say. And that's okay. Like as a former people pleaser, you kind of have to understand that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and you kind of have to accept that the person in front of you that you're talking to might not be your cup of tea. It just happens, and that's fine. There are let me look something up. I saw this on TikTok earlier today, and it was so funny the way the woman mentioned it. And I was like, you know what? She's exactly right. How many people are in the earth? There are 8.1 billion people as of 2024 that is populating Earth. There will be at least one person that you can potentially have a good, I would say at least even two. Like, there's always a chance to get to know somebody new. And this is coming from somebody that used to be extremely hyper vigilant with people that I met. And I feel like it wasn't until I started streaming again and like networking on LinkedIn that I don't care if people don't like me or not. I don't care if it's great if people can vibe with me. But it's not on me. And I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But that's not going to stop me from trying to befriend or like make a new connection and such. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right. Okay. So that was networking. Now, this one on project management and collaboration is a little bit long. This might actually require a little bit of like backstory, I guess, because there I think I mentioned like four I mentioned like four projects in here. Let me do collab. So this is the third edition and the final edition. Okay, so transferable tales, project management, and collaboration. So no one told me being a cosplayer meant also being a producer, director, and counselor. I was having such a hard time thinking of this quote thinking of a quote for this particular newsletter, because it's like I don't want to mention anything related to project management because I just think that's boring. So I'm like, okay, what is something from doing cosplay that I've learned that is related to project management? Oh wait, it's the fact you have to kind of carry, especially if you're leading a project, multiple hats at once. It's kind of crazy. So cosplay was something, well, cosplay was supposed, I don't know why I read it as something. Cosplay was supposed to be my escape from structure. Let me pin this one so you guys can read along. Cosplay was supposed to be my escape from structure, a space to create freely without agendas or deadlines. And yes, we are going to ignore the fact that con crunch exists. That doesn't exist here. We're not going to talk about it. I dare not. We're not talking about it here, even though I still have to cut off the lace off of Rumi's wig. But somewhere between planning photo shoots, coordinating collaborations, and running meetups, I realized I had taken on all three roles at once. I was not just portraying a character anymore. I was managing people, expectations, project outcomes, and emotions. Without realizing it, I had been practicing project management all along, just in a far more colorful, where I gotta look into something, gotcha fam. Just in a far more colorful environment. So the hidden skill tree. So do I really need a PMP or a project management PMP certification to be a project manager? It is a question I have asked myself more than once, and the honest answer is it depends. In some industries, that certification is essential, but in the creative world, and honestly in most workplaces, it is not a piece of paper that makes you a good project manager. It is the people you have managed, the chaos you have wrangled, and the ideas you have guided into something tangible. So let me ask this instead. Have you organized a content-based project that involved other people? Then congratulations, you have already been into project management. So every collaborative video, campaign, and community event is a project in disguise. I did not realize this until recently when I found myself leading a large-scale awareness campaign for a health nonprofit. And it was one of those you're in charge now moments that would have terrified me a few years ago. But it didn't. And neither did any of the other large-scale projects I have taken on since. So by that point, I had already learned how to manage creative teams, align personalities, and bring ideas to life. I had spent years turning inspiration into structure and transforming spontaneous ideas into shared visions everyone could be proud of. That was when it hit me. I had been managing projects long before anyone called it that. So the first one that came to mind was the Kingdom Hearts 3 photo shoot that I did. Called myself the accidental project manager. So at the time, I didn't even realize I was stepping into my first project management role. I just loved the video game series Kingdom Hearts, and I wanted to bring the box art for the upcoming release KH3 to life. Simple goal, right? Assemble a group of cosplayers, show up, and take a photo. What I did not expect was how complicated simple could be. Coordinate 13 people, each with their own personalities, comfort levels, and creative visions, was like learning to conduct an orchestra that had never rehearsed together. Some were extroverts ready to pose at a moment's notice, others needed reassurance before stepping in front of the lens. Not everyone meshed, and that was okay. To this day, I still hear beef, and it's definitely not simple and clean. Yeah. Um, so as someone that is like the sole organizer for these sort of things, I literally hear all of the gossip. Like it's not even funny. And it doesn't discriminate when you do like an actual professional project, because people be always talking about other people. And as a project manager, you kind of have to keep a level head and try to be neutral, which I feel like I've done a lot better at over the years. I could be age, I don't know. But anyway, in the end, everyone showed up, collaborated, and left happy with the results. And so the photo turned out beautifully, but the real success was not the shot. It was learning how to bring wildly different people together toward one shared vision. This was the moment I learned about project management is less about control and more about connection. Crazy how all these roles people get a degree on can be obtained in the most non-professional ways. It is, and you know, I feel like people don't really think about it because it's like, oh, I didn't do this in school. This is something I was kind of doing on the side. And it's like, you actually have to put in the work to get a certain outcome. Like, it's not just some like creative project or like a sort of like product you're trying to get out. Like, it's something you're trying to, like, some of the things like the paint and brushes, like, yeah, this is like building off of a existing concept, but it doesn't defeat the fact that like you have to like organize who's in it, make sure everyone's on the same page, deadlines, communication, all that stuff. Okay, anywho, past the brush series 2020 to 2024, and I don't know why, but I can't find any of them now. It might be and this is what I mean by like, if I do something like this again, and if I had beef with somebody, I don't want to like delete my work, because at the end of the day, that was work that I've done. And when I was younger, I think everyone could relate. I was very impulsive. So like if I had beef with somebody, I'm like, oh, I just want to delete this. And it's not fair to people that were part of the project. So I've learned from that, especially reflecting on this. But anywho, the Pass the Brush Challenge was a social media trend where cosplayers appeared in casual clothes, dropped a makeup brush, and transformed into their character with a swipe. What looked like a quick 15-second clip was a chain of collaborations across countries, time zones, and creative visions. Pass the Brush challenges are probably one of my most favorite projects and probably the easiest to get together, because at this point, if I don't know someone that could be this character, I can ask a mutual that I trust that knows somebody. I removed the ember. I remember those trends. I always enjoyed seeing you in those. Oh, thank you, Zen. My first experience with the trend was not as a leader. It was as a participant in a collaboration that became controversial for its lack of diversity. And mind you, I did not know who were the final people in. It was like a 40 plus type of project. And me and this one other dude were the only people of color. There were no like Black people in it. Oh god, what the typo did I send? You're fine, fam. Watching that unfold lit something in me. When I later organized past brush projects for Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts, and Tekken, I think Prince was in all of these, if I'm not mistaken. Anywho, I knew exactly what I wanted to change. Every video became a love letter not only to those franchises, but to the real diversity of the cosplay community. I intentionally sought out cosplayers from different racial and cultural backgrounds, body types, disabilities, and financial circumstances. So I feel like the whole talk about fast fashion and cosplay does get talked about a lot, but what we do want to talk about is when people have like, they want to cosplay, but they have like, they need to kind of meet like a budget sort of thing, but they still want to dress up, and that's totally fine and such. which is why like I once upon a time wanted to learn how to sew, never got around it because life. And I 100% respect people that do their own craft. Maybe one of these days I will try to learn it myself, but it's just not the time for me right now. These were people who rarely got the spotlight despite their incredible dedication to cosplay. My goal was simple. When someone watched a video, a viewer can see a cosplayer who looked like them or that they resonated with. Running these projects taught me more than editing timelines and video handoffs. It taught me the art of cold outreach, which transferred really well to when I was doing stuff for Maryland Pharmacists Association and just cold calling pharmacies when they're at their most busiest and trying to get feedback about a pilot from them. Approaching people I did not know yet and building trust from scratch. It showed me how to listen to recommendations from other creators, manage unfamiliar working styles, and still deliver something cohesive and heartfelt. Representation takes planning. The more inclusive your process, the stronger your project becomes. And then this third one, Cosplay to Potato from 2021. This was my 110% my idea. Unfiltered confidence. So it started as a joke. Cosplay to Potato is a tongue-in-cheek name for a project that flipped the usual transformation or pass the brush trend on its head. But behind the humor was something real that I had been thinking about for years. So cosplay has always been a front-facing world, even now in 2025, it has not changed. People are very superficial. I can talk yawns about that. We became living portraits frozen in the best angles and brightest lighting. And honestly, that portrayal, or I guess like conventional attractiveness, is kind of effed up my perception of myself. And it wasn't really until the past year where I'm like, okay, maybe you don't need snow app. Like maybe you look good even with the scars on your face, like scarring from like acne or whatever. But what happens when the camera turns back on us? Not the character, not the illusion, but us. Somewhere along the way, filters and flawless edits had become the norm. Behind them, people I admired were quietly struggling with imposter syndrome, body image, or medical conditions that made them self-conscious. I wanted to remind them and myself that the person underneath the costume was worth celebrating too. So I built a new kind of project. 40 cosplayers from every corner of the internet, 4 video editors with wildly different creative styles in one shared goal: to strip the glamour away and reveal something real. Each clip began with a character in full costume, then one motion, one cut, and the person behind the character appeared barefaced and unfiltered. No retouching, no corrections, no hiding, no filters, just truth. Coordinating that many people meant splitting the project into 4 parts. And so my spreadsheets looked like battle maps. My Discord DMs looked like therapy sessions. Between quality checks and file transfers, I found myself having one-on-one talks with cosplayers who were terrified to show their real faces outside of makeup and stuff. And it's like, what if I ruined the video? I did get a few like that, be like, oh, I need to re-record. And I get it, like, for like a technical point of view, but there were some that were like, oh, I don't like how you look in this shot, and I was like, no, keep it. Of course I gently told them that, but I said, if you want to re-record, go ahead. But they're essentially the video, like that's the type of message we're trying to send. At the end of the day, there is a person behind a cosplayer, behind all that makeup and stuff. So when the first part went live, the comment sections filled with gratitude and tears, and people saw themselves in it. The courage, the awkwardness, and the quiet relief of being seen. Cosplay to Potato taught me that leadership is not about flawless execution. It is about creating a space where people can be imperfect and still feel proud. Okay, I need to go back to that one. I don't know where this line came from, but ignore it. Okay, the 100-person meetup. This is from this year. and building community. So we're gonna ignore that. That was the most recent one. I'll fix it after this stream. By the time Otakon 2025 rolled around, I had not led an in-person project since 2019. So naturally, I jumped straight into one that was 10 times bigger. For 5 years, I had attended fandom meetups as an attendee. Show up, pose, chat, leave. That's it. This time, the usual organizers could not make it, which are my good friends Rainy and Sav, and asked me to take over. Because I was Tataru. People know who I am. And I'm just like, I would really hate to not have a Final Fantasy 14 meetup at Otakon this year. So despite like my anxiety and stuff, I still went ahead with it. Easy, right? Just a few photos and some crowd control. Except this was Final Fantasy 14, one of the largest, most devoted fandoms on the planet. So luckily a few of my friends agreed to help, but none of them actually knew the lore. Imagine trying to brief an entire team on the base game and its 5 expansions: Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, Endwalker, Dawn Trail. I had to actually count that when I wrote this part. I was like, there's 6 or 7. Can't remember. And then send them out to manage photo dames. It was like training new hires mid-shift at a very sparkly restaurant. And so when the meetup began, 60 plus cosplayers filled the space, plus another 50 plus photographers and curious attendees, or just people that were with the cosplayers that were trying to hold their stuff. 100 people, 1 organizer, 0 group chat. Me and my friends literally briefed 15 minutes before the meetup. So yeah, and also my eye was irritated that day, so that was quite a day. Somehow it worked. Years of pharmacy school leadership kicked in. I treated it like any other high pressure presentation. Read the room, adjust tone, keep things moving, and make everyone feel safe and seen. The result? A gathering where introverts did not feel invisible, extroverts did not dominate the floor, and everyone left smiling. Sure, one of our themes turned out to be a mild spoiler, and a friend mispronounced a key term, Asians. That's all I'm gonna say. But honestly, that just made it feel even more human. Leading is less about control and more about atmosphere, and you can't manage a crowd of 100 people to perfection, but you can guide them into a good time. And then my one-on-one collaborations, in which we talk about chemistry and chaos. Once again, TLDR, you're not going to get along with every person you collaborate with. There's 2 people I collaborated with in the past I no longer talk to. I block them. I see them at cons and I look at them the other way. And once again, back then, I would have the chismis or whatever, with my friends and be like, oh my God, it's them. But now I just don't care. There's probably a reason why we didn't mesh in the past, and I wish them well, but those are memories that they stay in the past for a reason. Anywho, if the group projects taught me how to manage chaos, collaborations taught me how to manage chemistry. Across 7 partnerships or collaborations, I have worked with creators I had known for years and others I had only just met through a cold message. Sometimes the connection sparked instantly and we would finish each other's ideas. Other times, we would post our work, thank each other politely, and quietly move on. And this is why I mainly collab with Pooj now. I get really hesitant collaborating with people IRL, mainly because of the quote-unquote drama, I guess, that has happened in the past. And it's I just don't want to deal with that, especially on my grown age. But yeah. Anywho, like I said before, that's okay. Not every collaboration becomes a friendship, a magic sister. Yes. My homegirl that I've known for literally, I hate to age us, but the past 20 years. So sometimes it is simply about learning how to build something together, even when your rhythms do not match. Each of these projects sharpened my ability to adapt, communicate clearly, give feedback with care, and adjust my leadership style based on who I was working with. those lessons carried forward when I began, man, yeah, that's a mood when it comes to being selective. It is. And it's like when you start off and you get to know all these people, you get excited, and then you start experiencing when people don't want to communicate and start talking crap about behind your back. And it's like, this is not a workplace. This is a community. I'm an old cosplayer. I don't got time to deal with drama. Exactly. So those lessons carried forward when I began taking on professional collaborations in 2025. This includes creating Beyond the Screen, a charity stream with Coach Lee Hopkins that explored how people with autism can navigate online spaces. And it says coming soon, but it's already out. Co-creating a Health Barriers in Filipino American social media post with a fellow Filipina PharmD. Shout out to IC Talks About. Both projects reminded me that collaboration does not change much across realms, whether it be professional or creative. And so collaboration is about harmony that respects differences. And so even if I might not 100% vibe with the person by the end of the project, I still want to show them that respect, professionalism and such. I can potentially also lump in the cosplay photographers into like collaborations, but that's a whole can of worms that I'd rather not get into. When you can meet people where they are, listen, adjust, and still move toward a shared goal, that is real alignment and that is leadership. So the new rule I live by. So project management can sound intimidating, like something reserved for people with certifications, dashboards, and color-coded spreadsheets. The only thing that I really use for my project management as a freelancer is Notion. Notion's really good because I really love their checkbox feature. But the way I see it is simply different cogs in a machine working together to create something greater than any single part. Every project I have done, no matter how chaotic or niche it was, has built the larger picture of who I am. Each one has contributed to my brand identity as Wadi Wadi Way, a cosplayer and community builder known across the East Coast for promoting inclusivity, competence, and educational diversity in creative spaces. And like, I made myself sound grander than I actually am, but that's something I kind of want to live up on as I continue through my creative journey, if you will. Those experiences did not just grow my brand, they grew my network. Some of the same people I collaborated with years ago still support my career journey and has helped me try to succeed in the medical writing world by sending me like job openings that they find. My rule now is simple. Do not treat project management as a burden or collaboration as a transaction. Treat them as opportunities to understand how other people work, think, and care about the same vision. Leadership is not about control. It is about learning how to manage up, empowering others to stand in their autonomy while still moving in harmony towards a shared goal. When every cog in the machine feels seen, the whole system runs beautifully. And I can read this one because I haven't released it yet. So, next time on Transferrable Tales, it'll be out on October 30th. So, project management and collaboration taught me how to lead behind the scenes. But what happens when you must lead from the front? So, next time, we'll be exploring public speaking and how streaming, podcasts, interviews, and convention panels help me overcome my fear of speaking in front of others. From live Twitch broadcasts to panels in front of real people, each moment pushed me out of my comfort zone and into confidence. Whether it is presenting for a pharmaceutical company or leading a fandom panel, I have learned that finding your voice is not about perfection, it is about the ability to connect with others. Anywho, that is all of my additions. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this like live reading. This is a little different from what I usually do, but I will say that I did enjoy it because honestly, when I do these newsletters, I feel like I give everything, but not everything across the sun. And so it was really helpful to kind of reflect on what I wrote about and kind of add commentary. I always enjoyed these moments. I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out. Let me just check my phone because I haven't. Are you? So I was actually gonna do Marble Rivals with Uzi and Pooge. Okay, so for the sake of being consistent and making this a separate VOD, I am going to end this stream. And if I feel, let me catch my breath first. If I feel like streaming again when I'm playing Rivals with Uzi, I will come back live. Just want to separate the VODs out so I can upload it on like YouTube. But anywho, yeah, take a breather. Thank you, Zen. And thank you everyone for attending today, and I appreciate your time always. But yeah, so tomorrow, I don't even know my own schedule, bruh. I don't even know my own schedule. Like, I know it's like Marvel Rivals, Tekken, Work With Me stream, Marvel Rivals and Tekken, and then Sunday it's like Persona 3 Reload. But I will be, since we are ending this first day with the live reading, I will be posting the actual schedule. It's on my Discord for those that are already in my Discord, but I do want to put it out there. And it'll be my stream anniversary too. It'll be my stream anniversary this coming Wednesday. So tomorrow is Marvel Rivals. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, I'm gonna go off now. You guys may or may not see me later within the next 30 minutes. We shall see. We'll just see what happens. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys for tomorrow's stream with some rivals. Bye guys.